Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome back. This is another episode of 100 Yards of Football. I'm Brian LeBel. I've got Joey Clinkscales, and I got Vincent Turner here with me today. And it's another featured episode of our Prospect Profile Show, where we're going to break down different college prospects, kind of give you a head start. The draft is, about 2 months away now? So we're getting closer and closer. The combine's creeping up. We're getting nearer and nearer to the little bit of football that we get for the 7-month break after the Super Bowl, which we just had. So I know a lot of people are itching for it. It's something to look forward to. Today we got an interesting one. We got Brandon Cisse, the cornerback out of South Carolina. He's a transfer, a speed demon, a blazing guy. Vincent, you've got some background on him. I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on Brandon Cisse, the cornerback out of South Carolina?
Well, I like the young man. We just had a little pre-show meeting among our people here, and I was going to bring on some, but our great scout, who's been a scout for so long, said something that was interesting. But remember, I'm just Vincent Turner, but I like him. They say track speed. Next week coming up in the combine, he's going to be one of the fastest guys there. I know he coming out of a program that's produced three great defensive backs out of South Carolina. And shouts out to Shane Beamer. Even
Yeah.
though Shane Beamer, they went 4-8 last year. Cam Smith is a pretty good player right now. J.C. Horn is a pretty good player. I'm not going to butcher the last man's name, but Nicky E that started in the Super Bowl seemingly is a pretty good football player. And
Yeah.
all of them came out of South Carolina. This young man right here is following that long list of great defensive players. But getting back to Mr. Cisse, first year in the SEC, played 2 years in North Carolina State. But what I like about him, his first year in the SEC and his only year, he had 27 tackles, 5 pass breakups, 1 interception. From what I seen in games he played, seemed like he's a pretty good tackler out of the cornerback position. And most of all, he's very versatile. He can play outside and inside. But most of all, it seems like he brings a lot of energy to the plays. But I know there's some weaknesses. But I'm not saying because I don't want Mr. Clinkscales to go to another level and blow a head gasket, but people don't know me and him are from the great state of Tennessee, and I saw him play at the University of Tennessee. But Joey and Brian, I'm going to bring up this gentleman. Now, from a track standpoint, a guy playing football, he kind of puts me in the mind of a Terry McDaniel, and I'm going to leave it at that. That's one of Mr. Clinkscales' former teammates, and maybe he could come on that. Just saying, from a stature and speed standpoint. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Well, Joey, I know you're probably going to disagree with some of that stuff, and we got the script, so we know what's coming next.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
brag on him a little bit first. He did play wide receiver as well as cornerback in high school. He's a three-sport guy: football, basketball, and track. He excelled at everything because Vincent mentioned the speed, right? It's hard to – you see 4.35, and you almost think it's a typo, right? I thought it was a typo when I was doing the research and setting everything up. But, Joey, when you watch him play, is the 4.3 speed, is it a little deceiving? Is it maybe – the pad, his pad speed is a lot slower than that. Is it? Listen, speed is great, but we mentioned this beforehand. John Ross, maybe the fastest guy ever to go through the combine, is at least his 40 time. Struggled to find the field, right? It didn't translate. Cisse's not bad, but is it one of those things where the speed isn't translating when you turn on the tape?
So let me say this because Vincent just ran a chill up my spine when he brought up Terry McDaniels. I played with Terry McDaniels. I watched Terry McDaniels. Terry McDaniels was a several-time All-Pro for the Oakland Raiders.
I should remind me of him coming out of college now. I didn't say the gentleman was gonna be all pro now. I said coming out of college, Joey.
And that being said, Terry McDaniels was a guy that started. He came to the University of Tennessee as a wide receiver. Hands weren't, very good. I mean, he would tell you that himself if he were talking. And he transitioned to corner. And when I tell you, he developed into one of the best man-to-man corners in the National Football League in a short period of time would be an understatement. And the reason why he did that is because he had tremendous speed. I mean, he ran on the track team at Tennessee. He had tremendous speed. I mean, he could put his foot in the ground, run forward. He did a good job of going backwards. Not great, but good job in his back pedal. But he had amazing change of direction. He could put his foot in the ground and change direction because he had really fluid hips. And for this player, that's the thing I don't see. I was surprised when I saw the 4.35 up there. He may run that. Guys have deceptive speed sometime, and he would fall in that category for me. But the thing that I didn't see is great hip transition. And for a guy, unless you're going to play him in man-to-man like they did Terry McDaniels for a long time, because he was a guy that was physical at the line of scrimmage. And this guy, Brandon Cisse, has physicality. Not so much at the line of scrimmage, but he has physicality as a tackler for sure. I see him personally more as a zone corner, the things I've seen, because I don't see the great foot quickness, the great transition quickness in his hips. I don't see that first step. I think he's got long speed. But some of those other things that make the suddenness, the twitchiness that I see in great corners, I don't necessarily see in this player. So he may go to Indy, and he may be one of the fastest 3 or 4 corners there. But the tape tells me that he is a zone corner that can probably get better. I mean, none of these guys are finished products. So to say that that's all he is probably inaccurate, because they all have a chance to grow and get better. But for me, the tapes I've seen, I struggle a little bit with it from a change of direction standpoint. And actually, I think there's a point in his career that if he's smart enough, he may transition into a safety. And that's because I do think he has I think he's really tough, and I think he's got really good tackling ability. I think he has want to. So I think he's in his makeup to be a physical player. So I think safety at some point in time can be in his career, in his future. And he has, he's got, in 3 years playing college football, he's got 2 interceptions, which tells you probably a little bit about his hands. I would say, if I'm comparing him with Terry McDaniels probably didn't have a large number of interceptions in his college career either, for sure, I would venture to say. And I'm not sure he had a ton in pro football. But what I can tell you is, from an athletic standpoint, that these guys are 2 different players. And I'm just saying McDaniels because you brought him up. We could talk about a litany of other players. Just from an athletic standpoint, from a twitchiness, from a hip flexibility, from a suddenness standpoint, I think those elite skills that you see in the really high-end corners, you don't necessarily see in this player. Not to say that he doesn't have it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. So maybe I could be watching the wrong tape, and it's there. But what I've seen, I hadn't seen that. Now, that being said, I do think he'll be a fairly high draft pick because, he's got some size and some strength and some straight line speed, apparently, that, is you can't coach those things. So right. You'll have a defensive back coach who's saying, I can get the best out of this player. And he probably could. In the right system, you'll get the best out of him. But I'm not ready to put this guy on the island and say, he's a Stingley or one of those guys that's playing in our league right now. I just don't see that kind of ability in him right now. But we're not talking about him in the same area that those guys got drafted either. So if I'm being fair to the player.
Now, if they did move him to safety, do you think he's got to add some weight, right? I don't know if he can play safety at 190.
Yes. That being said, we say that, but there are ways to play this guy at safety, and maybe he's a nickel
center
safety.
Field type guy. You know what I mean?
He's a nickel safety, not necessarily a center field guy, but maybe a nickel safety. So
okay,
he comes in and he comes in on pass downs and he's covering the tight end basically, so he's fine. It's not like he's covering a slot receiver, someone that's shifting and he's got to get up on him. So there are a lot of schemes he can fit in and do different things. It's the value that you put on the player. Knowing the things he can do and some of the deficiencies that he has that will determine your value on this player. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes because he's got that speed in his background. But at least in college, he wasn't a guy that he wasn't a guy that created turnovers from a standpoint of intercepting the ball.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You think maybe you talked about maybe the bad hands, but he was a receiver in high school too, right? So you think at least some of that would transfer over, maybe some more plays, maybe some more interceptions. Vincent, is there anything, because Brandon was a bright spot on a bad team, right? South Carolina really underachieved. there was a lot of expectations. I know Beamer Gamecock fans were ecstatic, right? 2 years ago, they played really, really well. They had a lot of close games. They're on the rise in the SEC, and then all of a sudden they just kind of go back in the opposite direction. Is there anything you look at when you watch him? I mean, benefits of saying, hey, maybe he didn't quit on the team. He played hard all season. He learned a lot. He developed. You can go watch him from week 1, maybe to week 12 and say, hey, he's a much better player. Because listen, you watch a lot of college ball. You're a big college football fan. And a guy running this fast, you brought him up, the comparisons and the speed, it's hard to miss. So is there anything you saw maybe that says, hey, I like what he did, and I think he's learning and he's growing and he's going to be able to continue to do that at the next level?
Go to the Missouri game film. He had some pretty impressive tackles in the run game support. He had 13 run support tackles this year. A lot of them are either behind the line of scrimmage or right there at the line of scrimmage. When I watched him play, he didn't miss a lot of tackles. Mm-hmm. And he was more physical for his size. But like I said before, I got a lot of respect for him. What you just said, Brian, even though South Carolina's season went backwards, he still played at a decent level. And most of all, I know this. Regardless, South Carolina went 4-8. I love their coach, Shane Beamer. And look at the players that's came in the National Football League under him. J.C. Horn, I think, was a Pro Bowl player this year, right?
Yes.
The safety, Nicky E., won a Super Bowl ring, and he was damn good with the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
A good DB pedigree there for sure. They're churning out talent. Not as many wins as they'd like, but they're churning out talent. So, Joey, is there anything that you look at and you say, from what you said, I don't know if he's a first round pick, second round pick, maybe a later round guy. Cornerback is always a position of need, right? Because you're always going to need multiple guys. You got to be healthy, you got to have depth. So that plays in his favor. But as a DB that doesn't shy away from tackling, that plays in his favor a little bit too, does it not?
Oh, absolutely, without question. I think this guy will go in. I think he'll get drafted fairly high. Again, he has to go to a team that understands who he is, the type player he is, and will play to his strengths. I'm not sure about his football acumen from the standpoint of his overall instincts. Some of that is concerning to me at times, some of the plays that I saw. But again, when you have a prospect that has this type height, weight, speed, and he's tough and he can be physical, I think you're going to give him these are players that I say you're going to give him every opportunity to fail. Right. So he's going to play early in situations, and they're going to make him fail. He's going to play enough to whether he's going to be really good, or he's going to be to the point where somebody's going to try to move him after a couple of years. But the things in his favor are he's tough. Again, I don't know the overall smarts, but the instincts I think can get better. They need to get better for him to be a full-time player. But he has an opportunity to be a really good special teams player because he's physical and he's tough, and he can run. If you're playing him nickel at a nickel safety, he comes in. Or extra corner and in the dime package, he'll be able to do some things. Probably not great versus smaller receivers, but down the field versus bigger receivers, he'll be able to run with anybody, and he has the physicality to win and fight versus 50-50 balls. Now, some of the 50-50 balls I saw on tape, he did not win, so that gives you a little bit of cause for concern because he was not great sometimes versus the 50-50 ball, but he'll be put in those positions and he'll be forced to either succeed. He'll sink or swim from that standpoint. So I'm curious to see where he goes. I think, he'll go fairly high, especially if he runs as fast as we think he will, because again, he's a guy that they're going to make you, he's going to have to prove that he can't play, not that he can play, that he can't play.
Now, is there something with maybe he just needs maybe some more film, maybe work more one-on-one? It's just reps. It's just becoming more comfortable because we talked about the slow aspect of it, right? Like the pad speed, and maybe some of that's just second guessing and more reacting as opposed to just trusting his instinct. Is it something where you can see him growing more, the football acumen developing more, maybe in his first year or two and becoming more comfortable and maybe saying, okay, I got it figured out? Or is it just kind of the point where, he kind of is what he is and he's a speed demon. He can get a little bit better, but more so am I asking, is he able to maybe grow and develop a little bit more and get more comfortable where he starts making some of these plays and some of these interceptions and maybe being able to use his speed more deceptively and effectively?
Well, without question, none of these guys are finished products. So he can always get better. Okay. You remember, 3 years ago, he was a wide receiver. So now he's coming in and he's learning to play corner. So he still has a long way to go. And I think the more comfortable he gets, especially in the right system, then he'll play faster. Okay. Again, it says 4.35. I didn't always see 4.35 on tape. But again, I don't know the player well enough to say that he was out there thinking too much. When you think and not react, then you don't usually play as fast as you can play. You aren't as comfortable as you can play when you're trying to think your way through the process rather than being smart enough and having a good enough instinct to know when I see something, I'm relying on my instincts and my smarts and what I've learned during the film study, and I can play full speed. He might not have been playing full speed because he might have been unsure about a lot of things. So not saying that he can't play to that 4.35. I just didn't see him playing to that 4.35 a ton. But of course, he can get better. None of these guys we're going to talk about between now and the day of the draft are finished products. They can all get better. Okay. And system matters. Coaching matters.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Vincent, do you have any final thoughts here on Brandon Cisse, the quarterback out of South Carolina?
All I know is the young man had 13 outstanding tackles. To me, that's pretty good as a corner. What I understand and what people are saying out there, he has a nickname. They're saying he's going to be Nate Wiggins 2, the starting corner out of Clemson that plays for the Baltimore Ravens. They say he has a lot of similarities. A lot of people saying another comparison, Darius Slay. Another comparison, Kyle Fuller. To me, I like his tackling ability. He kind of reminds me of a guy that Mr. Clinkscales was a rival in his division. I hope this doesn't send chills up his spine. But this guy was shorter. But watching Mr. Cisse tackle, he got a little bit of Frank Minifield in him, tackling real low. And I'm going to leave it at that. Back to you two outstanding gentlemen tonight here on 100 Yards of Football. Little Frank Minifield tackling ability, I think. Maybe Mr. Clinkscales can end it for me right there.
Well, Frank was a lot shorter than this guy, that's for sure, and a lot thinner.
Yeah,
a lot shorter and thinner.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Kyle Fuller comparison, I can see some. Kyle was a little bit tight here, but Kyle was a ball hawk, he came up with a lot of interceptions where. Again, and Kyle was really instinctive. For a guy that was a little bit speed deficient, this guy's going to be a lot faster than Kyle Fuller. But for a guy that's a little bit speed deficient, he was really instinctive. And that's why speed is not the be-all, end-all when you're talking football, because your instincts, your football acumen, those things are actually as important, if not more important, than the speed. Now, if you have the trifecta, if you have size, speed, and instincts, then you're a Deion Sanders, you're a Rod Woodson, you're Darrelle Revis, you're in that category. But everybody else is in another category.
Plenty of stuff to break down there, gentlemen. I think we've talked about, Joey, is there anything else with Brandon? I think we kind of touched everything, right? As far as
we touched everything.
What he's done?
Good, yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's in our expert opinion on Brandon Cisse, the cornerback out of South Carolina. Now, if you see us on YouTube, you can like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know if you agree with what we're saying. If you don't agree, whatever you might think. You can find our podcast anywhere podcasts can be found. We do this every week. We'll be doing this up until the draft, and we'll be doing more shows over the summer as we get closer to the football season. I know it's a long haul, but anything we can kind of put out for you to get there a little bit quicker. That's what we're doing here. So I've been Brian LeBel, Joey Clinkscales, Vincent Turner, breaking down the cornerback prospect Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for watching.